This is Laura from Industry Athletics, and today I'm going to go over how to do a hip thrust with a barbell, with a mini band, and with a kettlebell. With a dumbbell. They're all great options for using your time outside of class to help strengthen your hips. If you sometimes have any issues with knee instability, strengthening your hips is a fantastic way to help prehab any issues around that. So for a barbell hip thrust, we want to set up nice and close to the bench in a position that when we come up into the top of our hip thrust, the bottom of our shoulder blades are resting securely on the bench. Oftentimes I'll see people set up a little bit too far away from the bench, and then you're kind of fighting to get your stability on the bench. So get yourself squeezed up there nice and tight. From here, I want to make sure that my shins are vertical, so if you take a look at my knees, they should be aligned more or less over the top of my feet or my ankles. If I wanted to do a little bit more hamstring dominant, I could crawl them out farther away, and you should feel a little bit more there. But right here is going to be a bit more glute focused, which is what we're going to focus on right now. At the top of your hip thrust, we want to tuck the chin, tuck the rib cage, and then to come down, you're just going to drop the hips and then squeeze with the posterior tilt, which means tucking your tailbone under so that you feel a maximal contraction of the glutes. So I would come down nice and slow and then under control all the way to the top. I want to control that top position so that I have a bridge from my knees to my rib cage here. I'm not going to worry so much about this. In fact, I want this position for my upper part of my torso to stay pretty solid and stable, and I'm going to keep looking forward. This position with a slightly rounded upper back helps facilitate more glute engagement because I'm not relying on any mobility from elsewhere in my body to get the position that I want. So that's with the barbell. If getting out a barbell seems like just too much hassle for you, because it is a bit of a hassle to get that set up, we can grab a dumbbell. You want a pretty heavy dumbbell because your hips are very strong, and you can use a heavier dumbbell for your hips much more so than, for instance, like an overhead press. So get something that scares you a little bit, and we want to get it set up in a position where it's not hurting too much. So just a little bit below the hips is fine, or even in your hip crease. You can figure out where it's comfortable for you. Again, scoot those shoulder blades up, and then everything else here is the same, except you might want to go for a little bit more volume because you cannot have the same stimulus with a really heavy barbell as you can with a dumbbell. Another way to help increase the effectiveness of a dumbbell is really take your time on the way down. You can use something called an eccentric isometric protocol where you slow down, pause at the top, and come up nice and fast. So I did it in the opposite order. Nice and slow on the way down, fast up, pause at the top. So you're holding the position for more time under tension. Finally, I'm going to grab a mini band. You want something with a lot of resistance here. If you can use it for a shoulder exercise, it's probably too light for your legs. So something with a lot of resistance. I'm going to get set up again. And then we can do high hip position, banded abductions here. You could do as many as 20 to 30 of these. We want to go to fatigue. So you should feel right around your hip area, like something's really happening there. If it's not enough, then we could try for a single leg hip bridge. So there's lots of variations here, trying to keep the legs parallel to each other as you come down, and then bringing the leg out. You can play around with the hip thrust to find variations that are challenging for you. But I would say the primary points of focus are a little bit more volume, and more time under tension is going to give you your big bang for your buck with the lighter resistance ones. And then you can go ham with the heavy weight for the barbell. Okay, so if you want really strong hips, this can really help out your squat. It can help out your lunges. Hip thrusts are fantastic if your knees are giving you issues when you squat and you find like you just can't do it without pain. Generally, the hip thrust is something that you can swap in. Of course, this is not like if you are seeing a PT or something, like please go to them first, but you can play around with this as an option for less hip pain, or less knee pain. Okay, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to come and ask me, and that's all I have for you for now.